No way this is... Oh my god!
You saw that correctly, I'm on a timer to get this video out. Hello everyone, it's Shaman here, and by the time I'm uploading this video, MineZ Origins will be releasing the day after tomorrow, or even tomorrow. So, I am planning to host a live stream on this channel the very second it drops, and you definitely won't want to miss it because I'll be theory crafting a lot of the time I'm exploring around. For now though, let's focus on something really exciting. The MineZ Origins official trailer, which gave us the release date of May 9th, is an absolutely stunning filmographic masterpiece. Everything in this trailer just completely blew my expectations out of the water, and it was such a surreal experience watching the preview, which I did live stream if you want to check it out, it's on the channel. Anyway, enough chatting about that. In this video, I'll be doing a full analysis of the trailer, which I'll be splitting into two parts because I know some of you are interested in my theories and lore, while some of you also just want to know what's going on with this trailer. So for the first section of this video, I'll be doing a gameplay analysis and talking about all the new features that we could possibly expect from the MineZ Origins update. With the second section, I'll be analysing the narration, the lore stuff, and making theories on what this trailer could be indicating for the future of the MineZ lore.
You washed upon that shore, and you ran.
Let's get straight into the video, starting with the gameplay analysis. I'll be going through the video from start to end and point out all of the builds and other details we will probably see in casual gameplay within the MineZ Origins update. We'll start with this location shown here, and oh my god, this place is huge. Honestly, when I saw this only a few seconds into the video, I knew we were really gonna be in for a treat with this trailer. For those of you who can't tell by the various landmasses around the city, this place being shown is Kami, and I've got to say that it's an absolutely massive improvement from the Kami we already have. Not only do we still have the stalls in the center of the town, which in my opinion are the best part of Kami to loot, but we also don't see any ships or funny chests in the bay area, so maybe the build team have learnt their lesson from the horrendous looting nightmare that is Guten, and the new Kami won't actually be a terror of a town to spawn into. We also have the lore blocks smack bang in the middle of the town. Though it won't be visible in most of the video, lore blocks are going to be located in just about every location in the game. Every town and city has been given its own lore that ties into the main storyline of MineZ. I'll go further in depth with the lore side of things later on in the video, so make sure you stay around if you're interested. What's being shown on the screen now is obviously the new body offload, which we can tell by the hill in the back. The theory I've had for a while now is that the map which you obtain from Axis Mundi, which by the way looks identical to the Eclipse map from Ascendia Ruins, is used to unlock the body offload in order to progress in the main dungeon line of MineZ. The place we see in this clip here is Ascendia Ruins, which we can tell by the architecture, skeletons, and excessive use of smoke particles. We know that Ascendia Ruins is getting expanded as part of Origins because of the Discovery teaser that was narrated by Navarre, and between those two teasers, we actually get a full visual of what the new Ascendia Ruins will look like up until that smoke wall we see at the back. I'm not going to show the Discovery teaser fully, but the starting point of the clips in Discovery and the Origins trailer are exactly the same, only facing different directions. From this starting point, watching the Origins trailer takes you deeper into the dungeon, whereas the Discovery teaser takes you out of the dungeon. I'll put both of these videos in the description so you can compare them and check them out. One thing of note before I move on though, it now looks like the gate of Ascendia will be permanently opened, and instead of using the old Nord bone outside of that gate, you use it in the smoke pillar here. That's all for Ascendia Ruins, so let's move on. I've not got a whole lot to say about the next location that's shown in the Origins trailer, and that location is actually Axis Mundi. It's pretty obvious that Axis Mundi will be coming back as part of Origins, since it will likely be the first step in progressing beyond what we could do in the Secret Project update, but besides that there's not a whole lot to say. The same thing is to be said about Frostbane, which doesn't appear to have received any rebuilds, which does also confirm that not every single location will receive one. Now I'm 99% sure that this next location is something completely new, and not just a rebuild of Saiyans. This place does look to be too far from Saiyans, because we see the forest which surrounds the town of Tristitia in the background, which has clearly undergone a redecoration. This is actually a build submission made by a crispy tortilla called the Explorer's Campsite, which was submitted all the way back in 2018. This probably means that we can expect to see a few of the build submissions made over the past few years also make their place in Origins. Now this next shot is a cool one, because we get a before and after shot of the canyons. Initially I couldn't tell which one would be the one we would see in game, but then I realized I was being stupid and not looking close enough. We can tell fairly easily by the vines and leaves growing on the Noxmoor rebuild, the pathway which replaces the stairway, and some pieces of wood which I can't quite tell what they are. Now, I know a lot of people would probably really like to see the canyons undergo a revamp like we see in the before shot, since they're basically just flatlands of grass at the moment, but the reason they can't add water and make it all fancy is because they need to balance out the water refills. But hey, at least we get to keep the cave system entrance. The next thing we see in the trailer is that enigmatic location shown in the teaser for the Our Story series, and the jury's still out. We've basically got the same shot as the one we got with the Our Story teaser, only we're a bit further back, so we do get to see more of the pattern that's on the floor. I don't think I recognize a flag or a banner of this design in particular, but it's possible that this is Lord Aaron's Grand Meeting Hall in Fort McHarlington. Then again, I have no proof besides the room shape and the tables, so it's just a theory. We next see what appears to be the new meteor crater, and the terrain was also hinted at the end of the Discovery teaser I mentioned earlier. If it is Meteor Crater, the dungeon could stay the same because of a magical thing called instancing, or they could have completely revamped it as part of Origins. Some of you might be wondering why Meteor Crater was rebuilt, as it was perfectly fine as it was, and I will admit that it didn't look horrible, but it could have been so much better because it was essentially an obsidian sphere with lava oozing out of it. And also the terrain around it looked horrible. There's a reason why Johnny A doesn't exist anymore, folks. We next get a cinematic shot of the gods' symbols on top of the heads of the statues at Agni Ignis. I'll mention Agni Ignis later on, but for now I'm going to fast forward. Now this is the part where my poor little brain started to explode from the inside out. Yes, it's finally happening. They're finally rebuilding the spires. The pleas that I made in my last video came true, and when I saw this thing in the trailer, I was so damn excited. Like I said, it's highly likely that the other spires will receive rebuilds as well, and I'm actually curious to see whether Water Spire will look like Pluvia's Spire from MineZ 2. Because Fire Spire is getting a rebuild, we can probably expect updated parkour as well. Moving on now, we have what appears to be a new minor location. Either that, or it could be the entrance to one of the dungeons in the west. We know that it's not body offload, and I don't think they would remove the Lost Castle to make this Lost Thieves Guild, so I think it could either be Overgrown Tomb, or the more likely option, Flooded Tunnels. It seems a whole load of people don't really have an idea of what this place could be, but we see Prismarine, we see stone bricks, and we see a tower wrapped in an oak tree with spruce leaves. This tower, along with the choice of block palette, makes me think that this location being shown here is Stillwater Mott, which I think would be a good move on the build team's part if that were the case. Stillwater Mott is by far one of the most outdated locations on the MineZ map, and it'd be great to see it receive an update. Next we see Dentral's symbol in what is almost definitely a dungeon. I theorized on my livestream that this location could be Overgrown Tomb, since the other locations which have the access keys have references to Hestral and Dentral and Overgrown never did, but it's probably more likely to be the new body offload. We now see a similar shot of Agni Ignis to the one we saw with the Origins teaser post, and now is the time where I'm actually going to talk about Agni Ignis. First of all, we can see that they've done a bit of terraforming around the city, and it looks like the city has sunk into the ground. We do also see that the jungle has been built to surround the city almost entirely, meaning that it won't stand out as much and will be an exciting discovery for players who encounter it completely by accident. Also, for those of you who are worried about 2-block holes, those have all been patched up in Origins, so don't worry about getting stuck in the jungle anymore. This location isn't like anything we've ever seen in MineZ before, and a lot of people are suggesting that this place being shown is Windspire. However, I don't think this is the case, and I'll explain why not with the very next location shown in the teaser. It's not impossible that it's Windspire, but I actually think this could be Animo's Sanctum. Interestingly though, I don't think this is actually going to be something within the instance of the Animo's Sanctum dungeon, but rather an entirely separate instance, part of something to do with the Origins questline. As for who the man is, I'll get onto that in the lore section of this video, so stay tuned. The place being shown here is the brand new Desert Canyon Sanctuary, and we've seen this place a while ago. In fact, I touched on the teaser image that showed this location in one of my previous videos. In this particular clip though, we can notice these flags which, if you haven't noticed, seem to be a theme with all the elite dungeons. We saw it on Frostbane, and now we're seeing it on DCS as well. This is why I think the location shown in the previous clip was Animo's Sanctum. We also have the same pattern of flag, except in the colours of Simoon. And of course we know Animo's Sanctum is the elite dungeon of Air, so this is my reasoning for thinking that. We next see the Eclipsed Ruins, and we can see more terraforming in the background, so we can expect a lot of this kind of thing in Origins. The location being shown here is probably a new underground town, or it could be a new dungeon. We do see the Eclipsed banner in this clip, and also Acacia Wood, which from my knowledge is a first for MineZ. The one thing I'm wondering is that, if this is an underground town, how do we get here? The biome above doesn't seem to be a snow biome, so I'm wondering if they're actually going to expand the caves as part of Origins. That would be cool. We next see the symbol of Hestrel, which appears to be the one you can find inside Shrine of the Dusk, and then we see the coastline around Pravis, where we get a small glimpse of the new lighthouse, which now uses concrete and looks amazing, and also the desert castle, which seems to be unchanged. And that's it for the main trailer, but we do get a little more tacked onto the end, just before we get the big reveal of May 9th, which is the release date. We see someone walking into the Waygate at Noxmoor, only to find himself in some strange looking Gatestone domain. We do see another Waygate at the end of the path, so I'm actually wondering if this is how Gatestones will function in MineZ Origins. Of course there is the possibility that you use an item other than Gatestones at the Waygate, and this is how you progress in the Origins questline, but I'm wondering if instead of throwing Gatestones down and selecting a symbol like you used to, you throw down the Gatestone, jump straight into the portal, and have to traverse this strange Gatestone dimension in order to select where you want to teleport. The further away the location you're intending to get to, the further you have to travel in the Gatestone dimension. Essentially, it would be like Nether transportation, but in MineZ, and instead of using Nether portals, you use Gatestones and Waygates. And that's just about it for the gameplay side of things, so now I'll be talking about the lore side of this trailer. I'll touch on the gameplay in this part as well, so if you want to get the full gameplay rundown, I advise you stick around until the end, but this section will be focused mainly on the lore. Before I begin, I've just got to commend every single decision made with the production of this video. The camera angles are incredible, the music choice is spot on, and the narrator is so goddamn perfect! When all of these things are combined together for the game I love, I simply just can't help but be moved to tears 90% of the time I see this trailer. God damn, this is such a masterpiece. Just take a moment to take in everything that's going on here.
You need to believe. Believe again. That there's hope.
Oh, the chills! Anyway, it's all well and good talking about how freaking amazing the narrator is at his job and how he should get a raise for every single like on the video, but we should really be talking about who the narrator is in the lore of MineZ. Odds are that it's this man here, who we theorized earlier that he was standing in Animo's Sanctum, but we don't know who he's affiliated with, as it's not clearly shown in the trailer. He's not wearing red, which is the clothing we've seen for the eclipsed cartographer, or the brown that the man in the Wake Up teaser was wearing, but instead he's wearing what appears to look to be a shade of purple, the color of Simoon. All the signs are pointing to this man being not a member of the Eclipsed, but rather someone opposite to the Eclipsed. Maybe this person we see here is a sympathizer of the gods, a devotee of Simoon, and I'd even go as far as to say a former member of the Eclipsed. This makes a whole lot more sense when you listen to the voiceover, which fits way more for a character like this than, say, a member of the Eclipsed. I'm gonna run over the voiceover now and give my input, and you guys can judge for yourself how well this fits.
You washed upon that shore, and you ran. Tried to live your life. The life that had been taken from you. And from us.
This is where I'm going to make my first pause, with the line, "the life that had been taken from you and from us." The Eclipsed were founded at the beginning of the conflict between humans and gods, and they were the first to witness their livelihoods be destroyed. The players of MineZ came after all these events took place, hence why the narrator separates you and us. When he says us, he's referencing all of those that came before you.
The countless lost. And the history we left.
Again, with this line we get confirmation that the narrator has been around longer than we have.
The stories it told. In the end, it was about redirecting.
I want to stop on this frame, not to talk about the narration, but just to talk about what we see in the image. If we're assuming that the narrator is a follower of Simoon based off of the flag that he has, then these would be the followers of Agni's flags.
Redirecting our sorrow.
If the narrator was a previous member of the Eclipsed, then this would explain why we see the Eclipsed flags in locations such as the Syndia Ruins and the Hellia Ruins in Shrine of the Dusk. Neither of these locations, as far as we know, were never occupied by the Eclipsed, but rather just visited. And by leaving their emblem in these locations, the Eclipsed are passing down their story in hopes of redirecting their sorrow.
When the town froze over and the flames were extinguished, it was about evading their wrath.
When the narrator is talking about evading their wrath at this part, he's talking about how the people of the world did what they could to evade the gods' wrath. Some of the humans of the world wanted to seek peace with the gods, whereas others sought to fight back their influence, which led to the meteor strike on Joni A. Eventually this led to the gods getting sealed away, but as a last cruel trick the gods struck Romero with the zombie plague, so the humans never fully escaped the gods' wrath.
When the lake dried up and the farms turned bare, it was a promise that was given.
This is one of the quotes that makes me suspect that the narrator is a retired member of the Eclipsed. In response to the gods' wrath, the Eclipsed offered a solution to the humans, and that solution was to seal away the gods and prevent them from running free in the world. This was their promise to humanity.
When the sky fell and the town burned, our people cried out and our faith was shaken.
When the narrator says when the sky fell and the town burned, he's referencing the town of Joni A, which is why we see Meteor Crater on the screen as he's saying this. Of course, this was the turning point in human history when they stopped putting up with the gods' destructive ways and decided to seal them away in the spires.
A promise to never let it happen again. We moved forward with a code to find the truth, to seal away the evil that had destroyed our way.
Even though the narrator is talking about sealing away the evil, I don't actually believe the gods are evil, as I discussed in my Our Story video, but instead I think their instinct to protect humans has been corrupted into an instinct to dominate. Of course, evil is a subjective thing, and many of the humans will have interpreted the god's actions as evil. I actually think that the narrator is talking as if he were his past self. He must have thought the gods were evil in the past, but it is likely that he's later come to the realization that the gods were not evil after all.
Lock it away and let the light shine free.
Here's something I need to make clear for the sake of this theory. It's likely the Eclipsed believed in the past, and may still believe now, that the only way humanity will see the light is if all the gods are sealed away. The narrator has likely seen that this is not the case, and that the world is breaking as a result of the god's absence, and now realizes that the only way the light will truly be free is if Hestral and the other gods can return to a world where there is no darkness and there is no Dentral.
But we can't go back. You need to believe. Believe again. That there's hope.
These lines suggest that there's a hint of regret for what humanity has done in the narrator's words. The line, "but we can't go back," implies that the narrator believes that humanity's actions in the past were a mistake, and that although we've essentially dug ourselves a massive hole by locking away the gods and allowing Dentral's power to leak into the world, we can still correct our mistake if we hold out hope for the future and try to move forward.
The darkness may be free, but the sun still shines.
This line, in my opinion, has some of the biggest implications for what's to come in the future of MineZ, and also tells us a lot about what's actually going on in the world. We have confirmation that although we were able to repair Dentral's seal after breaking it open in Shrine of the Dusk, his influence has still seeped out into the world, enough so to cause quite a few problems for our future. So, what does this mean? Well, it means that the narrator is definitely anti-Dentral, that's for sure, but it probably also means that the narrator believes that the way we will dominate Dentral in the future is through the power of Hestral's light.
What we've done, we've done. We will make up for it. You will make up for it.
Now this has got to be my favourite line in the entire Origins trailer. It tells us that the narrator definitely regrets their past actions, referring not only to himself, but to we, which means the rest of the humans who are not still sided with the Eclipsed. So, if we think about it, that's a lot of people who are not following the ways of the Eclipsed, and that explains why not very many people are aware of who the Eclipsed even are anymore. Going off of my theory, what the narrator is saying he's going to make up for is the mistake of sealing away the gods in the first place. The interesting thing, however, is that the narrator also says you, the player, will make up for it. And you're probably wondering, what am I making up for? I wasn't around when the gods were banished. Well, let me tell you that the players are the ones responsible for releasing Dentral in the first place. While the survivors are making up for sealing away the gods, you, the players, are making up for unleashing one.
Accept what we were, what we lost.
This is just a continuation of my point a second ago. The narrator is saying here that we should move on and accept that we made mistakes in the past.
You will learn. You will free. You will see the light again.
If all the previous evidence wasn't enough to convince you, this should be. We see the symbol of Hestral right as the narrator is saying, you will see the light again. And now I can say with absolute confidence that not only does the narrator have interest in freeing at least Hestral, but we will see Hestral make his debut appearance in-game in MineZ Origins.
Evade what will be by moving forward, because you washed upon our shore.
No, oh no, we are not over yet. In the final few frames of the teaser, we obviously see the eclipse symbol, which is the symbol of Origins as we've known for a very long time. But that symbol gained a new meaning with our story. The symbol depicts a blood moon, which is likely representing humanity, eclipsing the sun, which probably represents the gods and Hestral. However, in Origins we learned that unbeknownst to the eclipsed, the symbol of Dentral also happened to be an eclipse. Only in Dentral's symbol, the eclipse is a partial one. The imagery of the eclipse in the example of Origins is important to keep in mind here. If my previous theory from a few days ago is correct, Dentral's power is the equivalent to the deficit of Hestral's power. Think of it this way. If there is no eclipse, you see 100% of the sun, but if there is an eclipse, you only see a percentage of the sun because you also see a percentage of the moon. The reason why Dentral's symbol on Shrine of the Dusk is a partial eclipse is because it seems Hestral's light isn't fully gone yet, only mostly. And this is the part where I'm going to prove that whether the narrator is a retired Eclipse member or not, the Eclipsed are actually going to be the bad guys of MineZ Origins. Even though the Eclipsed banner shows an eclipse with the flares of the sun behind it, we see all traces of the sun disappear, leaving only the moon. If they wanted to freak people out by showing the eclipse was becoming total, they could have just shown Dentral symbol on screen and made it a total eclipse. But instead they used the eclipsed symbol. This makes sense because the eclipsed are the ones making sure that the gods are sealed away, which seems to be exactly what Dentral wanted. And then, just as I was writing the script for this video, it all popped into my head. We learned that in MineZ Our Story, that the humans learn the blueprints to the spires from whispers in the darkness and voices in the corners. And we can imagine that the Eclipsed are behind the construction of the spires, so what if the founders of the Eclipsed were actually under the influence or under the control of Dentral? This is how the eclipse would have crept its way into the entire culture of those who sought to seal the gods away. And even though most of the eclipsed might not realize it at this point, they are doing the work that Dentral set out for them from the very beginning of their existence. Mind blown yet? Well, either way, I'm about to blow your mind again. Either that or I'm going to sound really stupid, but try to hear me out. A good friend of mine, Taipuza, brought this up while we were talking about the Origins trailer, and my mind literally shattered into a million pieces, which I then pieced back together in order to come up with this theory I'm about to give to you. What if the narrator of the trailer is actually Simoon in incarnate form? For those of you who are going to try and immediately debunk this theory with, well, isn't the statue of Agni supposed to be the incarnate form of Agni frozen in time? Well, we know that the lore is being rewritten, and we didn't hear anything about the statue of Agni being the physical incarnation of Agni. We did, however, get told that the gods were ripped from their high seats in the heavens and pulled down to earth to be locked away in the spires. So I'd imagine Agni wasn't conveniently on Earth at the time this took place. The reason why I think the narrator could be Simoon is because when you envision Simoon, or any god for that matter, speaking the words we hear in the trailer, it seems to make even more sense than if the narrator was an ex-Eclipsed member. I'll play back some of the most interesting lines for you, and you can just see for yourself how they fit together pretty nicely.
The life that had been taken from you. And from us.
The life that had been taken from the gods was a peaceful life taken away from them when Hestral began to slaughter humankind over fear of dark magic.
In the end, It was about redirecting. Redirecting our sorrow.
The gods would be redirecting their sorrow because the god that had given them life and the ability to create, Hestral, had just tried to destroy their creation, and they were forced to lock away the father of themselves and the realm.
When the town froze over and the flames were extinguished, it was about evading their wrath.
This is an interesting part because it actually ties into a whole new theory. If it wasn't the humans trying to evade the gods' wrath, then who are the gods trying to evade? Of course, they would be trying to evade the wrath of Dentral. Due to Hestral's absence, Dentral's power was growing, and it's likely that Dentral threatened the gods, forcing them to use their own powers to inconvenience humanity as much as possible in order for humanity to be plunged into chaos and lose their trust in the gods. Meanwhile, Dentral would be telling the humans to build the spires in response to the gods' actions and to seal them away. If Dentral was the source of the dark magic in the world in the first place, and was responsible for telling all of the people in the world, including the gods, what they should be doing, then there would not be a single catastrophe in the entirety of the MineZ lore that didn't stem directly or indirectly from Dentral.
When the sky fell and the town burned, our people cried out and our faith was shaken. A promise to never let it happen again.
The gods had made a promise to protect the humans from any harm Dentral would bring, and slammed a meteor into Journey A to appease Dentral. Upon hearing the cries of humanity and learning that the people had lost their faith in them, they were horrified.
We moved forward with a code to find the truth. To seal away the evil that had destroyed our way. Lock it away and let the light shine free.
When the gods realized they had made a grave mistake, they swore to themselves that they would learn the truth behind Dentral, and how despite being sealed away, he was still able to creep his way into the world. Once they had found out a way to banish him for good, they would allow Hestral's light back into the world with open arms. Unfortunately, this plan didn't work out, and they were sealed away before they could undergo in their research. And immediately as they were sealed away, Dentral's power grew to the point where he could unleash the plague onto humanity. If Dentral was behind the plague, he cast it out at the critical moment where humans would point fingers at Simoon, Pluvia, Agni, and Theorem, and never seek to free them ever again.
What we've done, we've done. We will make up for it. You will make up for it. Accept what we were. What we lost.
The narrator, Simoon, is making it clear that the gods are incredibly sorry for their actions and want to move on from their past, while also forgiving the humans for their misplaced trust in the Eclipsed and sealing them away.
Evade what will be by moving forward, because you washed upon our shore.
This sentence is what really ties this theory up with a nice little ribbon on top. The key word in the sentence is our shore, as in the shores that the gods created. I just think that although this theory sounds far-fetched, everything ties so nicely together that we can't even call it a conspiracy theory at this point. It's not even borderline, but an actual solid theory. I'm incredibly thankful to Taipuza for the idea once again, because this one makes sense and actually builds the hype of Dentral being an incredibly intimidating threat. If the four gods were afraid of his wrath while he was still locked behind bars, then imagine what havoc Dentral would bring if we unleashed him with no gods to protect us. Honestly, I can't even lie to you guys. The day I upload a video and the days that follow are some of my happiest times because of all of the support you guys give me. And it's so exhilarating and overwhelming that it really does motivate me to keep going. And I do mean that. I mean it wholeheartedly. I'm sorry this was a long one again. I wasn't expecting it to be only 5 minutes short of the one a couple of days ago, but there was so much packed into this 4-minute long video that I completely underestimated it and almost missed my deadline. But boy was this fun to do, and I'm so happy that I can now embrace Origins knowing that I have an open plate ready for more theories and lore discussions. I'll be streaming tomorrow as soon as Origins hits, so make sure you're around for that. But anyways guys, that just about wraps it up for the video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you guys in Origins. Take care everybody, and thanks for watching.